from Southern Ohio. Keith and I just left Bob Evans. We're going out to do a habitat consultation on about a 50-acre property for a landowner. By the way, if you don't know Keith, Keith runs Ohio Wild Media. He does a lot of editing. He has all kinds of cool hunting YouTube videos and land management videos. Be sure to check those out. Keith also built the whole website for Native Landscapes, the nativelandscapesohio.com. Keith's just all around awesome. He's helping today on the consultation. He's going to be filming. We're also meeting our buddy Jason Jones out on the property. He's a grassland coordinator for Quail Forever. He goes out and helps landowners manage grasslands in early successional plant communities, and he's just kind of an all-around plant nerd, so it's a good guy to have on a job like today. So this landowner, it's a recreational hunting property. What he manages it for is strictly wildlife. So we're going to all go out there, team up, and hopefully put together an awesome plan and a really good long-term management plan for him to be able to manage his property for really the next couple of generations. So we're about 30 minutes out on the property. Everyone's meeting on site, so we'll see you there.
Okay. There's service up there if you need to give them a call or whatever.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Lane that goes all the way up to the top of Sheriff Lane.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's how we get up here, so.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. We'll pick up Jason, the Quail Forever guy, so we'll see you in just a second. Look at this person over here, burning the bank for brush control. Did you look at that? Right on, man. Dude, that's dope. Look, he even threw some trash in there. They're killing two birds with one stone. They're burning trash and they're burning the bank.
Yeah. Some mountain laurel growing up there. That's a good sign.
Is that all laurel?
Yeah, I think it is.
Morning.
So,
I'm Larry, by the way.
Rob, nice to meet
This
you.
is Keith. Keith, what do we have here at the gate? It's a knotweed, eh? That's pretty cool. Right here we got some Indian grass. Indian grass, got some broom sedge. Pretty cool. Anytime you got these roads or right-of-ways, they can be really good places to see what kind of species could be hiding on the rest of the property. These areas get a little more disturbed, and then you'll see some of those earlier successional plants popping up in places like this. So could be a good indicator of what's hiding all over this property. We're rolling up this southwest slope of the property here. Southwest slopes usually are drier, a little more exposure, usually more oak dominated. Lots of white oak in here, and up higher on the slope to my right, some chestnut oaks growing. They love really dry, shallow soil sites. Really good oak that's left in here, and hopefully some of the cut areas have some good oak regeneration happening too.
You know, there are some trees. But as I was telling him, when we first bought this, it was, most of it was so thick it was hard to even hunt because you couldn't see anything. It was all just blackberry and real stemmy stuff.
Thorns.
Even coming up the lane there, you couldn't see past the, it was like going through a tunnel. And just in 7 years, I mean, it's amazing how much it opens up. So like before, you couldn't see down through there. Now it's starting to open up.
Okay.
I showed you what I've done.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to shop and let me know what you think from here, where we should go.
Yeah. So I just want to verify one, just any objectives beyond that we didn't already discuss, which I know we talked about that. Hunting property, really wildlife habitat's your main usage for it. Habitat's always changing with time. And you know, you have to go back in and do management on that, and in that management you can create diversity on your property, which is what attracts wildlife and keeps them there long term. So that's our goal, is like look at your whole property, how we can optimize diversity, and then just have that necessary management long term where you have the tools to reset that on a large scale. Something we could apply to a whole hillside, different slopes. You know, you got all these different micro sites on your place. That's what we want to kind of find, and then we can kind of make a plan more tailored to those specific sites. So how we kind of will cruise this, one of the major things we will look at is slope. So a southeast slope grows totally different vegetation and trees than a southwest slope. So when we cruise all this, we'll make a game plan before we all launch. Jason, I want to get your thoughts too on kind of maybe how we should do this. You can offer thoughts on where the trails are and how we can get around, but let's kind of design our loop, if you will, so we can hit all those key spots. We'll all kind of round table this a little bit and then kind of make our game plan for the property. So it sounds like the food plots for right now are probably working pretty good for you.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about burning. You can burn late summer, which in certain spots will kind of clean the slate, but what that does is it creates a vegetation response, resprouting, young blackberry, new little forbs that pop up. It's like a natural food plot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to maintain a clover plot.
Right.
But if you can light a match at a certain time of year and hit a 1 acre, 2 acre pocket and create that same effect. We're looking at a site, there's a lot of trees, a lot of woody stuff, but you wanting to set it back. Some of this, once it's back in that stage, then your management options from there get so much easier and lower cost.
As far as just native plant communities is basically what I outlined here, this upper portion.
So that's all food plot now, pretty much. But it's easy enough. We can run straight down through there.
Keith and I at breakfast, we thought the same thing, Jason, as you, to the T. We looked at this kind of these upper areas. We know we got the food plots, and we thought, okay, so what's right off of
So that's what it is. So I've got some that I cut down in a spot down there, and man, it like took off like crazy.
Yeah. Come back to like jail cell bars.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. That one will be one, Larry or I can give you specifications on how to treat it best.
Okay.
That's definitely one that you should address, because the future of your forest depends on all of your native plant composition, and that one will definitely outplace the natives.
There's a lot of this.
So totally common in this part of the state and throughout. I always say, like, these native grasses, Indian grass, switchgrass, they're like a climax community grassland. So it's like planting an oak tree equivalent, right? It takes time, but through time, I mean, if it's managed as a grassland, that'll outlive you. You know, on a good site, you'll reach maximum productivity on native grasses in like 3 years. On a poor site, it might take a little bit longer. But if you include fire, it'll definitely speed up the process. Have you ever worked with a state service forester or had any like forestry technical assistance out here?
No.
So there are resources to you. Like, I work mostly with the EQIP program, so I work for Quail Forever, Pheasants Forever. They have programs that provide technical assistance and financial assistance to landowners for the work they do.
I just am not familiar with how any of that works, and to be honest, it's been kind of intimidated and have just funded everything ourselves a little bit each year.
And maybe that's the way to go, to do things on kind of your own schedule and everything.
So that stand about 10 or 15 years ago, remember how you were talking it was thicker than dog hair?
Right.
Well, there's a point where at that stage, when all that stuff, that poplar will get it. See how that poplar's taller than that oak?
Yeah.
Well, he's been running ahead for a few years now. There was a point about 5 years ago where this whole stand, reverse it back down a little bit, where if you ran a fire through there then, dormant season fire, it runs through, it's going to top kill all the oak, it's going to top kill everything. But oak is adapted after that fire, it sprouts back more vigorous than all its buddies.
Okay.
So a fire, you're top killing it, but you're like, what's that do to my trees if I'm the top killing the tree? Well, oak re-sprouts off of the root collar almost below the soil.
Okay.
So when that fire kills the top, it fires up with full momentum a cleaner, straighter stem too. So if you have like a whole bunch of trees and they're competing, you can actually use the fire. Yeah, you're setting it back, but that thing has so much built-up energy that it's just straighter, literally higher quality timber. But in doing so, it stunts the poplar, it hits the maple harder, and then it's way slower to recover. So you can start to, the oak will just jump out over it. So it's a way you can use fire as a management tool.
I'm gonna have to wipe my boots. Yeah, so it's actually called, it's pretty fitting, it's called carpet grass. Or hairy joint grass. Its ecology is very similar to stilt grass, but it's called hairy joint grass or carpet grass. And you should probably wipe your boots when you leave here, because you don't want it at your place or any other places you go. But as you can see, it's an annual warm season grass, and it absolutely carpets the whole soil surface. It's extremely invasive.
Well, it looks pretty good. Look how tall that broom sedge is. You know, switchgrass ain't gonna ever get a whole lot taller than that. But fire up here, 100% will set back that annual grass. I can't say it's gonna make it go away. It definitely will set it back. It'll make room for other native plants to grow. It'll let the broom sedge take off. It's going to make your switchgrass go crazy. And what'll start to happen when those perennials start jumping up and getting more growth on them, they're going to shade out the spot where that stuff's trying to grow.
Right over there.
Man, this switchgrass plant, you know, it's maybe like 5-6 tillers, which is like 5-6 stems. After burn, it can like jump to dozens of tillers per plant. Yeah, I agree with Larry. Manage for the long-term ecosystem. You know, get your long-lived perennials, whether it be switchgrass, maybe some native wildflowers, that then you can get to a point of just managing that natural, and then you can stick in your kill plots.
Well, and
you know,
my neighbor,
this has to restart literally from seed. So if you mowed this thing clean as you possibly could right now, the broom sedge and the switchgrass, when you mow that all the way down, they do not get set back by that if it's dormant. Right? They're literally under the ground, the whole root system. So mowing it all the way down, if you couldn't burn it, mowing this is low to the ground, but I would start with that. What this also does is it cools the soil. It traps moisture and it creates a microclimate. So by burning or mowing and completely scalping that, you're just getting the sun in there, and it creates better conditions for more plant species to pop up.
I'm open to burning it. I just want to make sure that
your bases are covered. Me personally, I would be very careful and very delicate, because you got some cool plants growing around this. But I would get in here. You get in here with a little bulldozer or an excavator. I would make you a really nice shaped little mini baby pond right here, just for wildlife. Dig it. You need to get some depth to it, because it's going to get dry in the summer.
Yeah.
But if you get it down 4 or 5 foot on the hole, it'll hold some water, and you will be shocked. You put a trail camera right there, and you got keep that water there in the summer and early hunting season. You got water on the ridge.
Buck was rubbing right there, and there was beds like right in here.
Oh man!
I mean, we'd come in here. I jumped one time coming in, just pulling in.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
perfect, because he sees when anything's coming or going, and he's got well, you can see the trail right there. He goes right through there is where he goes, and he just stays right here.
Yeah.
When they're green.
And here's another thing. If you've ever seen, blackberry will stay green sometimes in the gun season.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden everything else is going dormant and you've got blackberry leaves, you better watch it. Because I mean, I've literally done a hurting on some deer before coming in feeding on blackberry like all day long in gun season and stuff, coming right to blackberry patches. So that buck literally had probably water. Even there's even stuff here that we're not noticing. Like if I could find some examples. This would be green in the early part of hunting season. So you better believe he's right here where he's got salad.
Right.
Next to his bed, right? So this is probably could be offering even more nutrients than even what your food plot is, believe it or not.
It's just more diversity. Even when deer have one really reliable food source, they still select for diversity.
Yes.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
This is a really cool, I think that's seed box. It's got really cool like seed capsules.
Wow. Check this out real close.
Hollow Joe Pie weed gets 8 feet tall, but you can tell this one was browsed off during the summer. Right in here, probably where that buck was bedded all summer. That can be your yard species right there too. Hollow Joe Pie weed. It's
gorgeous.
Gets really pretty. Huge pink blooms.
Flowers. So if we set back some of these wooded tree areas to grasses and things like that, this is going to be one of your main guys you get in there. And this, I'm telling you, is so attractive in the fall and winter.
Oh yeah.
Browse.
They eat the heck out of that stuff.
Yeah.
Free grain.
Well,
look at that thing. That's like
I know.
a year of corn. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is cool.
But I wanted to point out to you, so you got this cool sumac here, but what you also got is some poplar in here, okay? It grows super fast, takes resources, shades stuff out. It's a great timber tree, but in this little micro habitat you got here,
Doesn't make any sense.
you would want to just get that out of there. So you could either just little loppers, electric chainsaw, hatchet, or roll with the herbicide technique I was telling you, basil spraying, where you just have a certain herbicide mix. You would come right down with your backpack wand, don't have to bend over, just reach it in there, and you just paint all the way around the bottom, kills it like that. And then this little twig, once it's dead, it just falls over.
If you look throughout this whole stand, is a lot of big tooth aspen. Probably one of the most managed for species for rough grouse.
Okay.
So big tooth aspen, especially when it's in an early successional stage, is really beneficial for rough grouse and white-tailed deer and turkeys. So this might be an area that you could think about kind of resetting, kind of a patch cut, potentially, if it lines up with your other management objectives.
I was going to say, just what you're looking for too, this is something I want you to even be comfortable and start to learn and identify, is when you look down at the leaf litter on the ground, is a couple things. How much of it is there? Literally, how deep is the leaves?
Yeah.
And then you can look at what type of leaves are here. Different leaves carry fire vastly different, right? But I see here oak leaves. These are going to carry fire better than most things. But what I do see is a nice deep bed of leaves. 4 days after no rain and the right conditions, I do believe you could get this. You see how these are laying right here?
Yeah.
This is a softwood tree species. You get a good fire cooking right there, it's going to top kill that. Now it's going to look like a war zone. It's going to top kill some of them. Some will live, but when whatever does get top killed, sunlight gets in here, weeds, grasses, stuff like that starts to flush. So then you got leaves and more fuel for your fire. So this might take a couple burns. So maybe you burn it once, come back in 3 years later, burn it again, and each time the fire's gonna get hotter, and responsibly hotter. But then you're gonna get, before you know it, you could slick this whole top off and have it back to, literally you could set it all the way back to what that grassy meadow looks like on the other side. Reset the aspens and stuff back to a stage that grouse and stuff can use. You know, if you're growing timber, you have some substantial poplar that's on its way that it'd be harvestable in 60 years. So realize that you're going to be killing poplar, destroying poplar for the habitat benefit. Right? So that's where we're looking for spots that makes the most sense. And if some spots like pure poplar, it's already this big, then maybe we want to let that poplar, maybe it's a poplar unit, but we also want to figure out, like, it's better if you can have that way over yonder than have these like different stages of growth up closer to where you're trying to attract and hunt. Yeah. Right. So like, just a quick call out, that little bit of cutting that he did here and that little bit of sunlight, like right over there, got some broom sedge that popped up. Yeah. So literally this whole property, the seed bed that's out there on that power line, where you get the sunlight down to the soil, that is literally what you could intersperse in here. So a red maple, chestnut oak site.
Being open, would you cut them down and just let them lay? Would you?
I would. In this site and for a lot of your goals, yeah, I would just cut that. I wouldn't even treat the stump. Just let that stump sprout.
Let it fall and just sticking it up with the debris in here.
And if you ever notice after you do that, in 3 to 5 years, once that stump sprout, if the deer can't get to it, stump sprout gets back up to like this tall, and you're like, well, dang, the deer can't even eat that anymore. It's time to do a burn. Okay. But this soil is almost barren. Yeah. This is getting so much wind erosion through here. You can literally see that's why it is, and that's how this site is. That's why the chestnut oak is. So basically, because this clear cut has now got back to like a pole size, it's closed canopy, all basically are your forage species. They're getting shaded out, and they're literally just dying out. So from a wildlife forage standpoint, it goes down to like 50 pounds an acre for forage. So again, poplar is a lot different than oak, but trying to look at how deep it is and just what is exactly it consists of. Because you gotta basically have a hot enough fire around the base of that, right, to get this thing top killed. For your whole property here, if you're gonna have a burn crew that comes out here, you got the cost of a crew for a day, right? You got a hard fixed cost. But we know we got a nice hard edge coming all the way up the power line. You got the trails all the way at the top.
So this, when I contacted you, my thought of where to burn is basically all this that's inside of that area burning all the way up to the food plot. And even into this area that we talked about. Yeah,
let's cruise this up and let's look at this first, guys. We got this whole big property. We have kind of two main sides to the property, right? Let's run this up and look for a change in this just to see if the poplar switches over or what happens as we get higher up the hill. Yeah. If we get higher up the hill and it starts getting oaky, the leaf litter is going to get better, and that's a site that we know we could turn around quicker. So this has been 2 years since you mowed it, right?
2 years in March.
Okay. So if you do a burn in here, it's going to obliterate everything upper stem wise, and it's going to resprout. Right. 2 years after that fire, this whole area is going to look like this. Right. Which is good. Is what I want. Right. However, in 2 to 5 more years, right, it's going to be closing back up, and then it would be time to burn again. These trees don't just disappear. What happens is the fire creeps by the bark of them at the bottom, and then the whole tree dies. But then the root, then it sprouts back from the root and does this very thing right here. From a cover standpoint, at that first time, it's going to come back thick and rough. Long term, if you're going to put the money into one burn, the second burn, 2 to 4 years later after that first one, a lot of the material that died in the first fire is going to burn up in the second fire. And then it's really going to open up and start to be way more grasses. And there's going to be, in the summer, be wildflowers all over this thing. Insane amounts of like wildlife forage, good cover. You might not burn it 10 times in your lifetime, but you're probably going to want to burn at least twice just to get the full deal. Let's just cruise up this little thing. Now that we got a good like idea what's going on. But after that first burn, it's like this little spot right here. This side, we were looking at the leaf litter, definitely conducive to burning. But if we burned it, we could burn it all out. But then if you pan up there, Keith, we got a big old tree right there. That's a big, maybe a black gum, a beech, a maple. Okay. That's what we were talking about, remember over there with dealing with some of the trees in the burn area. So that's where after it gets burned out, come in there and cherry pick all that stuff, because you can burn it all out, but if it's in the shade, the plant response is not going to be what you're wanting. This whole second hill here, I would include this in a burn unit. And the other thing I would do is right in here, when you say thicken it up, there's some pretty nice white oak crop trees in here, but you got a lot of like what I would just call like coal trees, excess trees, and then there's a little bit of a different tree composition. So some of these real little ones in here, I would absolutely cut those. Right in here, I wouldn't really worry about treating those. So these two tree species look pretty stinking similar. Totally different trees. This is a sourwood. And then right back here, the middle one is a chestnut oak. That's in the white oak family, drops an acorn in August, September. One of the first trees that's dropping hard mass in the fall. Super attractive to all wildlife, and pretty cool that it's right here next to this little green area he has planted, so good diversity. We're just looking at the edge of this little field where we can cut a few of these non-desirable trees. This sourwood's not adding anything here. It is a good tree for pollinators at certain times of the year. It does produce small soft mass that goes with that, but on the edge of this field like this, or this small little opening he's got, we're gonna try to get some more sunlight in here. So that's a tree we can take out. Take that one out. Favor that really nice chestnut oak, some maples on the edge, really coming all along the bottom edge here. All these small ones that aren't oaks, pretty much thin those out, get a little more sunlight up here, and it'll thicken up this edge, make deer feel safer up here in this little opening, and also provide a little bit of different forage in the form of stump sprouts and woody browse right here next to his green food source. You see this guy right here and you're like, oh, that's a maple.
Yeah.
But it's actually not, and the easiest way to tell is look at the branches. See the twigs up there?
Yeah.
So notice how there's no big red buds.
Okay.
Remember how the maples were all budding out like crazy? That's a serviceberry. This is the first tree to flower in the springtime out here.
Oh, okay.
White flowers. Back in the day, settlers, they called it a serviceberry because when the ground would thaw enough to where they could have like funerals and bury people that died over winter, the ground was frozen. When these things flowered, they know the ground was thawing up, and then they could literally bury people. So serviceberry is where it came from. I'll put some like green ribbon on this one and I'll label it for you guys. See if you can catch it this spring if you're out here walking around doing some work, and see if you can catch it when it flowers. But if you're in here doing maple control like I was mentioning to you, you know, don't be hitting anything. I'll try to find you a smaller one. Yeah, give me probably a week, maybe 2 weeks max. I'll get you some consolidation, get you some maps, and more or less some good supporting docs. And if anything on there, you know, you need a little follow-up question or something like that, just fire me a text.
I'm gonna be out here with a spraying and cutting and doing some things over probably in these next couple weeks.
Yep. The maple might give you a little trouble with flushing herbicide back out.
Yeah.
You probably could still basal spray a lot of it, but you can still, it's a great time to cut stuff, period.
Yeah.
So cut stuff, open it up. Well, we gotta get some dinner. Appreciate you having us down, really do. Well, this place will keep you young.
I love it. I mean, it's big enough that I'm seeing deer, I'm killing deer off of it every year, and I enjoy doing the work as much as the hunting. Like that's the part to me that gives me something to do during the summer.
Well, it's great to meet you.
Yep.
Thank you for hanging
You guys are
with
awesome.
us.
Just
Nice to
hiking
meet
high
you.
and low.
Yeah.
Getting into place. Whew, well, long day, pretty awesome landowners that were super passionate about making their property better for wildlife and just their own personal enjoyment. We hiked high and low on this 50 acres, crazy topography, up, down, hiking through clear cuts. It was a weird spring day, even though it's February, spring peepers were out, we were getting covered up in ticks, so spring is a-coming, and that was kind of exciting. So, pretty awesome property. We were able to set up some huge management units for him. Long-term, looks like prescribed fire is gonna be super applicable on his site. He's got a lot of oak timber. There's a lot of different stages that the property is in. Younger timber, clear cut reversion, all different stages. He's got some really cool areas he's been planting and forage or food plots for wildlife. He's got that up on the top. He's having really good luck out here, so he's just really looking to improve his management onto his whole property to be able to make the most of the entire property, and even the native landscape that's offered beyond his food plots is really what he was interested in, which was pretty cool. We're gonna try to shape out some burn units for him. We walked, he's got a great trail system. He already spent a lot of time and effort into establishing a trail system through some of the areas that were really thick. They'd been clear cut back in the day. So because that's in place, that's gonna make it really easy to do prescribed fire. And a lot of those clear cut areas are at a stage where it's ready to be burned. We can do a fire, go in there and set back a lot of the competition within the oak and just reset the habitat, get more forage, way more forage in pounds per acre of native vegetation out there. Maybe be out here next spring and getting the crew out here getting ready to burn. So that's the hope. Hope you guys learned something watching this video. Thanks for tuning in, and if you've made it this far, we appreciate you watching. Check out some of the other videos we've got up recently. Keith's been putting out a couple banger videos that just all around great content. So we're gonna hopefully keep some more coming for you guys, and thanks for watching.